Welcome to First Flight High School for this month's Board of Education meeting. The mission of the Dare County Board of Education is to support the students and staff by providing the necessary resources and support to ensure that every student is successful. Dare County Schools strive to empower every student to be an innovative problem solver, an engaged global citizen. Together, we are building extraordinary schools.
Well, welcome everybody. I'd like to call the meeting of the Dare County Board of Education to order. Today is March 9th, 2021. We are at First Flight High School and the time is 5 p.m. Very excited that we're live, kind of excited and not a little nervous, but we're live, so hopefully everybody will have an opportunity to see the board members have discussion and be able to talk and know who's saying what and who's speaking. So this is a really exciting evening, but bear with us as we work through kinks. First we'll take a moment of silence. Okay, and as it's always been our tradition to have the representative from the area and the school in which we're at to do the welcome and pledge, I'd like to ask Joe Tauber to welcome and lead us in pledge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to welcome everybody to First Flight High School. We appreciate the opportunity to go on live TV, and as we approve this, we thought the community deserves to see us in how we've been making our decisions and what goes into making our decisions. So everything is transparent, open, and the people can see at the end of the day how and why we made the decisions that we did. These have been challenging times. We've had to make some difficult decisions. Parents have had to make difficult decisions as well. But I say, let's look at the future and how we get students up to speed psychologically and academically. And we welcome your input. You're treasured by the board. We always try to respond to parents, staff in terms of their input, in terms of making the system better, because that's ultimately our goal, because our children are the issue here, and how we make them successful in life is our goal in making this school system successful. And by and large, we want to make well-informed decisions, and I think with everybody's assistance, we can strive to do that. So thank you very much. I hope you find this rewarding in terms of seeing us and seeing again how we make our decisions. Thank you. Oh, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, it's exciting times. We have our kids back in school, and we are certainly all available to hear concerns from those to make things better for our children, anything we can do for that. You have before you an agenda, so I will take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the agenda.
A motion by Mr. Twitty.
Second.
A second by Ms. Lawler. And we don't have to do the rounds this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion stands. We have an agenda. First up on our agenda is announcements. Dr. Farley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was a little loud. Several quick announcements, and certainly talk about the reopening of school a little later in the agenda. So first, I want to thank our administration here at First Flight High School. This has been our home away from home during the pandemic. And I want to thank Principal Lansing in particular and his assistant principals, Leila Ingram, Kirsty Weeks. It's an inconvenience when we're meeting here constantly, whether it's the Board of Education or our central office leadership team, either in the media center or the gymnasium, and they've been gracious hosts, and we appreciate it greatly. May have heard last week, there was a March 4th State Board of Education meeting. They actually meet for 3 days, but on the 4th, listened to about 5 hours of that meeting, and there was a state board resolution that was approved, which you probably saw in the media, which is a push in line with Governor Cooper's push to reopen schools. That is not a binding contract or resolution from a legal standpoint, but the indicators, great support from the state superintendent and the State Board of Education in continuing to press forward and reopen schools. A couple takeaways from that meeting. This was paired with an update in the North Carolina Strong Schools toolkit, which also got a lot of press. A lot of the protocols remain the same. What is important, although there's certainly a big push, rightfully so, to reopen schools to the best of our ability, is there still is a 6-foot social distancing requirement for middle and high schools currently. One of the interesting takeaways from that meeting was there was some representatives of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services who did give an indicator it's possible the state moves to a 3-foot social distancing protocol. And I think the term was used possibly rapidly. So we're watching, certainly paying attention at the state level, and there are local impacts, and we're planning accordingly if and when some of these mandates change. The toolkit also, one of the changes that we picked up on, as you recall, when we reopened schools in October for 3 weeks, and as we reopened last week, there's been a requirement for all students who ride school buses to have only one per seat, unless there's a sibling, and when there's siblings involved, you can have more than one child in a bus seat. So essentially, our buses have been capped at 24, unless there were siblings, and the state has now eased the protocol at the elementary level. That is no longer a requirement. We have decided, just for safety reasons at this point, that we will continue to do that and have one student per seat elementary, unless they're paired with a sibling. That's not something that we can do long-term, but at this point, we intend to do that most likely through the rest of the school year.
Can I ask a question real
Sure,
quick?
absolutely.
How many double bus runs do we know how many double bus runs we're doing because of the seating?
Right, so very few actually. So because ridership is down at the middle and high school level, that kind of balances the number of double runs that we potentially may have done. And we're also preaching patience, because when you start a school year, typically the first week or 10 days, particularly in a pandemic where we've been out of school for several months, you see more parents who want to drop their kids the first 7 to 10 days, and so there could be some shift eventually, but it's not been a strain. If you did double runs long-term, then you're talking about more personnel and more mileage and more buses, and then extended periods of time where students would have to get up earlier and ride buses longer. So we're trying to avoid that at this point. So we feel pretty good about still continuing to do that, and at this point, we would do this through June. Some other updates. So for the public and our community, the Board of Education engages in about 10 different committees. One of the committees is called the Packet Committee. So this is a reference to a committee that meets generally 7 to 10 days before our Board of Education meetings and reviews all of the agenda items and information that's in our board packet. And the board packet team recommended, since we're in March, that we would, and we're in televised sessions now, that the remainder of this current academic year, the board meetings would be here at First Flight High School. So we're talking through June, and then when we reconvene come August, then we'll get into a rotation going back to other schools And when we do go out to other schools, we will open all of our meetings with thought the video was great. We'll produce a video for each school when we get there, and we'll start that rotation in the fall. We also, for the public, not everyone may know this, but the Board of Education picks typically 4 days throughout the year on the day of a board meeting where they do school tours. And it's a way for the board to get out, get into classrooms. It's very beneficial for board members. We get to see teachers, students, and we'll start that rotation again in the fall. And again, that was a recommendation of the Packet Committee. USCD, so the United States Department of Education, or USDE, has notified states that they're going to provide some flexibility in the spring and actually carrying through the fall when it comes to school accountability measures and assessments and reporting. So North Carolina actually had a waiver in, as I understand it, that went to USDE, and that department is going to review the North Carolina waiver, and we'll be informed at some point if there's going to be some easing of the reporting accountability measures that actually are in general statute in North Carolina as we move through the spring. We're certainly still going to have end-of-grade tests, end-of-course tests, but we're looking for the possibility of some relief and accountability, and that really stands to reason given the limited amount of face-to-face time that schools across the country have had in the last year. So more on that to come. 2 other items, or 3. The board has what's called, we're in public schools. We typically are deeply involved in planning for the next school year's budget from about December to April. The board, by statute, has to submit a budget to the county commissioners by, I believe, May 15th. And so we are in the process right now of working through all the requests. And so the community knows, every staff member, every school has an opportunity to submit requests that they would like to see, whether it's materials, supplies, facility, needs, personnel, if you're an administrator. And we're working through the process of assessing all those requests and then trying to put together a budget build. We have a $63 million budget in Dare County. We're very fortunate because about 1/3 of that budget is local. That's really unheard of in any other district across the state. And as we move through the next 4 weeks, the board is involved in what's called a 5-on-5 committee. So there are 3 representatives of the Board of Education, myself, Finance Director Tilley meets with 5 members representing the county, including the county manager, their finance officer, Dave Clausen, Chairman Woodard, and then he selects 2 other board members. And since I've been superintendent, it's been Mr. Ross and Vice Chair Overman. So we're getting together dates. That will be a public meeting to talk about budget requests and where the school system is in time as we start to submit. And then in the April 13th board meeting, the board will get the first draft of the budget. By statute, the board has 30 days, and then look to make any modifications or approve that budget in the May meeting, and then it will go to the county commissioners for consideration. 2 other items, and I think I started with brief, so sorry. I do want to recognize Aaron Jennings and Steve Blankenberg. Folks at home won't see these gentlemen because they're behind the screens, and they put together this production and working with Keith Parker. So I want to thank you. They've spent countless hours in preparation mode, and they will be traveling, which is a lot to ask for them. And I think the setup here is wonderful, and I'm sure we'll have that at all of our 10 schools. So thank you. And then lastly, an easy one, Director of Innovation, Johanna Parker's birthday is today, and happy birthday to Joe. So, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Farley. Yeah, we are very grateful for all your hard work in putting this together. This has been something that I think a lot of people in Dare County, I know a lot of parents have really anticipated being able to visualize these meetings after they've listened to them by audio and struggled with how they are able to hear each of us. So thank you guys very much for all of your hard work, and to Principal Lansing for the use of your facilities. It's been very appreciated. And hopefully over the next couple meetings, these guys can fine-tune everything so then they can work on how we get this on the road. So, okay, next up on the agenda is recognitions. Dr. Parker?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We are excited tonight to recognize some of the outstanding students and staff here at First Flight High School. And tonight, Principal Lansing is going to come up and speak on behalf of some of his employees and students. They are not present here tonight, but we've asked them to watch the broadcast, and Principal Lansing will be delivering a certificate of recognition to everyone tomorrow. So we're very excited to bring you some very exciting recognition. So I'm going to ask Principal Lansing to come forward and share that with you now.
Almost like feeling like the governor when he comes up to the podium and takes his mask off every week. Dr. Farley, board members, thank you for giving us this time to highlight some programs and our students here at First Flight. We are very happy to have you every single time that you're here, and hopefully you feel welcome every time that you're here. And I don't know if everybody remembers, but it was actually March 10th, 2020 was the last meeting we hosted, and that was all of our last meeting face-to-face all together. And it was open to the public, so that's a year ago tomorrow. So it's actually really almost a sense of relief to have everybody back together and think about the steps that we're taking in a positive direction and working together to do so for our students. So thank you. I want to recognize some students first. We've had a very, very busy fall and winter when it comes to academics. And we've had 2 students recently honored by members of the Outer Banks VFW for winning entries in the VFW Voice of Democracy audio essay contest. The annual nationwide contest has been going on since 1947 and awards thousands of dollars in scholarships each year. Sophomore Paulina Goping won the first place prize of $500, and senior Logan Hamp took home the second place prize of $100 for essays they wrote and recorded in October. This year's prompt was, is this country the founders envisioned? Prizes were awarded from the Billy Brown Memorial Scholarship Fund and presented by VFW District Commander Richard Probst and VFW Voice of Democracy Chairman Rob Bowling. Both essays also earned additional honors in the district competition. Congratulations, Paulina and Logan. Nighthawk News Magazine co-editor-in-chief Cassie Honeycutt was named a runner-up in the North Carolina High School Journalist of the Year competition. The senior will receive a $1,000 scholarship from the North Carolina Press Foundation in this annual contest through the North Carolina Scholastic Media Association out of UNC Chapel Hill. Cassie's portfolio went up against journalism students from across the state, with 1 first prize winner and 3 alternates being named. This marks the 5th straight year a Nighthawk News Magazine editor-in-chief has been recognized in this contest. Congratulations, Cassie, and we'll hear more from her later on during our instructional highlight. At the end of last semester, creative writing students in Catherine Claggett's class submitted entries to the Outer Banks Women's Club Literature Contest. Several Nighthawks earned recognition each year in this contest, with this year being no exception. Junior Pia Jastrzemski won first place for the poem The Perfect Run. Sophomore Alexia Combs won second place for her poem The Beach, and junior Casey Piddington placed third with Old World Blues. There will be an award ceremony later in the spring, but congratulations, Pia, Alexia, and Casey. After spending lots of extra practice time and auditioning virtually, 7 of Bob Ebert's band students earned spots in 2 clinics. 4 students placed in the 11-12 band for the North Carolina Eastern Region All-District Honor Band Clinic. They are junior Cindy Guns on flute, senior Aiden Beard on clarinet, junior Emily Urasek on trumpet, and junior Damian Gregory on trombone. That quartet was also placed in the North Carolina East Region Jazz All-District Band Clinic, with Guns on the tenor sax and Beard on the baritone sax. Junior Ethan Duck earned a spot on the alto sax, and freshman Brooke Brindle joined on piano, and Samantha Pugh, a junior, grabbed a spot on the bass. Congrats to these fine arts students. We recently experienced a situation in which one of our EC students was choking in the classroom. we had 2 teaching assistants, Lisa Scott and Lane Kraft, react very quickly to administer the Heimlich maneuver. The obstruction was dislodged and the student regained the ability to breathe instantly. We cannot express how grateful we are for Mrs. Scott and Mr. Kraft for their dedication to their students that they work with every single day. Lastly, we would like to take a moment to recognize junior Fiona McKenna, who has been a driving force while getting a lot of help from friends and the community in supporting junior Tatum Love. Following the car accident that sent Love to the hospital, McKenna organized a GoFundMe campaign to support the family. The account recently surpassed $100,000. McKenna also served as a link between the family and the countless community members who were eager to hear updates on Tatum's condition, starting a Caring Bridge blog site that allowed for regular updates. Thank you to Fiona and all the other Nighthawks and OBX community members who rallied behind Tatum and her family during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, and our thoughts and prayers of the board remain with their families. Next up, we have instructional highlights, which I think Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We are going to ask Principal Lansing to come back here in just a second and share his instructional highlights this evening, but I did want to speak about our process for preparing it this evening. So, because we've been unable to bring our staff in and do a presentation as we normally would, we were able to pre-record 2 videos that we're going to show to you tonight. One highlights the outstanding journalism program here at First Flight High School, and the second highlights the initiative we've had over the past several months at all 3 of our high schools and our middle schools to stream our athletic events for parents, because as you know, the capacity limits have prevented unlimited fans from attending. So we're going to highlight the athletic streaming that has happened at First Flight High School, but we've also been very pleased to be able to provide that service to the other high schools and middle schools. So these videos were pre-recorded, and although the staff are not here in person to share with you, we're very excited about the video and the work that Principal Lansing has done to prepare these 2 highlights. So I'm going to ask Principal Lansing to come back and share some information with you on that, and he'll be available for questions and comments at the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our instructional highlight this evening is Steve Hamp and the work that he does with journalism, publications, yearbook, social media. It's an all-world, all-encompassing approach that he takes with his students. And, you know, the last 12 months especially have been very difficult to continue his programs, given that face-to-face meetings are essential, given that, you know, working with students in and outside of school to capture the parts of their lives that go into these works that they present through the newspapers, the magazines, the websites, the social media postings. That's become very difficult, but Mr. Hamp is passionate, he's dedicated, and that really comes across as one of the most, you know, genuine approaches that we get to see working with our students every day, and it's no wonder that they gravitate towards him and his program. Thank you.
My name is Steve Hamp. This is my 6th year in Dare County and my 11th year teaching overall. Before that, I was actually a sports writer. For 13 years, I majored in journalism at the University of Illinois. I teach the Intro to Publications class, 2 of those at First Flight, and then I teach the newspaper class. We have 2 of those, and then I teach the Shorelines yearbook class, and I have one group of students doing that class. One of the coolest things about Nighthawk News Magazine to me in terms of success is just the fact that it goes out into the community. There are a lot of high school newspapers in the country, but there are not a lot of high school newspapers in the country that are read by thousands of people.
Generally, we do about 4 print editions each year and distribute it to the community, and we also have an online newspaper which is called nighthawknews.com, where we put all of the print stories as well as online stories on there and post it. There's also a Facebook page where people can get updates about those, and we also have an Instagram where we promote all of the stories.
So cool. From the reaction we get from the people that live on the Outer Banks, from the staff that works so hard to help us do everything, from Mr. Hamp, who guides us through everything we do. It's an amazing experience. Like, there's no really a word to describe just like how much of an impact and how cool it is to be on your life.
For yearbook, definitely one of the successes is just how many books we're selling now. The last 4 years, actually, Shorelines has been a sellout, and we're actually approaching about 500 books now for our order.
We are both editors of the 2020-2021 Shorelines Yearbook for First Flight. It's a really important part of First Flight's student life. We try and encapsulate everything we do here, and it's just something that everybody can look back on that we really enjoy doing and working on together.
I think for me, it's definitely being able to get to know everybody in our school. So I get to go reach out to different people and just include everyone because, like she said, not everyone's included in everything, and it makes people feel really special when they're on a page.
Definitely one of the most fun parts of the job is working with the students that come into the room every day. We've had an awesome run in the North Carolina High School Journalist of the Year competition. 5 straight years now. We've had an editor of the newspaper either be a winner of the contest or a runner-up. It's just a testament to the students' dedication and hard work. And so Cassie Honeycutt is this year's runner-up for the North Carolina Joy competition. Obviously, journalism has its struggles right now with people talking about the value of journalism, and the bottom line is that there's more interest in journalism and in good journalism than ever before, and it's because we don't have to wait for that paper to be at our doorstep on the morning. We can get our news whenever we want it. And so teaching the students how to produce high-quality journalism and ethical journalism, that's a huge part of what we do.
So with journalism, we're very, very blessed to have an educator who is very passionate about what he does. Of course, motivating his kids and challenging his kids to take a good idea and make it great and get the best out of them. And you know, with journalism, it's a major pillar for community outreach for us. They constantly have a connection to what's going on at the school, what's going on with our students, and it's a great bridge that they've built, and hopefully it continues and grows even more.
In addition to being very fortunate to have Mr. Hamp here, we've also been very lucky over the past 12 months especially, but even beyond that, to have Mr. Steve Blankenberg and Mr. Aaron Jennings, who Dr. Farley alluded to earlier. They have taken on a monumental task of athletic streaming, and it's become, it started out as a simple idea, and we'll share that in the highlight, but I can't express to them how proud we are of the work they do, how much they share with our students in doing that. And I remind our students all the time that the most valuable thing that you can give to somebody else is your time. And you guys have given a tremendous amount of your time, and we're very, very grateful and lucky to have you. Thank you.
College soccer here in the U.S. It's college soccer here in the U.S. His favorite Nighthawk memories are every second spent on the field with my closest
Team foul number 1 to the line, shooting to number 24, Bella Schweitzer.
Heading into the season, we wanted to provide an opportunity for fans at home, parents at home, grandparents at home to be able to view our sporting events, beginning with volleyball. So Dr. Parker approached us with some options, and we felt very strongly that in working with Mr. Blankenberg, he and his crew with Mr. Jennings would be able to put on a broadcast that would be not only just, you know, suitable, but enjoyable.
A little bit, be aggressive.
First of all, we were really excited for what the district did. They asked us what we needed in order to make the live stream happen. With limited fan capacity at our venues, it was really important for us to be able to allow our parents to share the experience of their kids' games, which they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. I can't tell you the number of calls that I received from people all over the state who just raved about the clarity of hours, the quality of hours. And so as an athletic director, it's nice to see people come together to make sure that your kids are recognized for the hard work that they do put in.
Another good shot by Dovey, and that one's good.
Coach Williams approached me and said, hey, you know, we're able to do some streaming. The Athletic Association of North Carolina is going to allow us to do this. For the past 6 years, we've been doing the graduation streams, and so I've got a little knowledge of it, and I learned a whole bunch more. He and my partner, Aaron Jennings, I couldn't do this without him. I'd like to thank also Dr. Keith Parker, the admin there. They were able to buy us top-notch equipment to be able to really put this together. It's come a long way since we first started doing it. We even have commentators now for the basketball season. They did a smash-up job. They added an element to the stream that I couldn't be more pleased with.
Good pass by Crumpler.
It seemed as soon as he started, he took it every single day and added a piece. You know, the first time I watched, there was a great camera, and we thought it was wonderful, and then the next time you turn it on, there's a graphic in the screen with the score constantly playing. And then I walked in the gym one day, and he's mounting several different cameras. He's having shelves built, and there's you know, wiring going on all over the place. So it wasn't just something that he was doing because we asked him to. He really made it a product, a service that everybody could enjoy, that was really you know, something we could be proud of, and that really honored our kids and how hard they were working. It really grew, and we couldn't be more proud of it. And I share it you know, with principals that I've worked with in the past, and kind of just brag a little bit about how ours looks.
I think the one thing that this COVID thing has taught all of us is how far we can push technology, but I think we can still push it. I don't think that it's being pushed to its limit for sure. Okay, next up we have, I also want to congratulate Steve. I sit on the Outer Banks Seafood Board for the Seafood Festival, and he always brings his group of journalists out to help out with that and volunteer, and so to keep the kids active in the community, it's a really good thing.
Madam Chair, the commentators have been so good. ESPN's been here scouting on a few occasions.
Oh, okay, well.
Kudos.
Okay. I hope they can't pay him more than us. Next up, we have public comment, and to my knowledge, we have no public comment that has come in prior to the meeting. Is that correct, Dr. Parker? Okay. So next up, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda has personnel consent minutes from the February 9th special meeting, the February 9th regular meeting, finance amendment, budget amendments, and approval of the Government Education Access Channel Committee proposed budget for 21-22, and approval of funds to Manio Elementary School from the NC Education Lottery.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion from Mr. Twitty.
Second.
A second from Ms. Bothwell. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we are going back to Dr. Farley for reports and items of information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, as you know, we reopened schools last week, and we're thrilled. My central office leadership team, all of us have been out to almost every single school, if not all, and particularly on the first day, to see parents drive up with the smiles on their faces, that was pretty neat. And parents are very thankful. You can tell smiling eyes, even if someone's wearing a mask. Our students are joyous and pleased to be back, and our teachers, the energy in our buildings is fabulous. And I don't think that our reopening could have been any better. And day by day, it seems like we're getting to a place where there's more normalcy in our schools, and the challenges are still before us, but with each passing day, we feel like better times are ahead. I want to thank our teachers. As you know, we have asked a lot of our staff in the various ways that we've scheduled, and the various ways that we've delivered instruction, still are delivering instruction, particularly with the hybrid model. And they are going above and beyond in the low contact protocols that we've put in place, which we feel have been very successful. And we appreciate everyone working together, parents, students, teachers, in following all the protocols. And we really have done that since day one, and take that, the details and the diligence very seriously. We have about 1,200 kids, surprisingly, are still virtual. Those numbers are up, and they're up primarily in grades 6 through 12. So we have had 30 new students in the last 72 hours who have gone virtual. We're approaching 875 students, 612 who are virtual. So thought that number would be lower. It is mid-March. We would love to see more students come back to face-to-face delivery. And in the meantime, we'll work through families to have that option. I firmly believe they'll have that option through the rest of the school year. There's all indicators of that. I don't see that changing. And we're going to study. So with the higher numbers of virtual, that means that there's likely possibility at some point where we could consider bringing more students back into our 612 model. That's not something that we desire to do immediately. We're just a week in. I do think that we're going to see the indicators at the state level is rapid changes. And as you know, in our February meeting, we recommended that we revisit where we're at after about 5 weeks, which will bring us to spring break. We have some good news as far as the number of students and staff members. Of course, we would love to have no one who's been identified positive or is quarantined, but since we've reopened as of March 9th, we only have one staff member that has been a laboratory confirmed positive COVID case, and only 3 current staff members who are quarantined. And that, in a 10-day span, is a significant piece of data when you reflect on back where we were in the beginning of November. Students, we currently have 6 positive student cases and 42 who are quarantined. Those numbers also are trending significantly down compared to what we've seen, and a lot of our quarantine situations have really been sports related, which in some ways with the physical contact that goes on in sports, despite the protocols and the wearing of cloth face coverings, you would expect some of that. We're certainly seeing that in the different sports that we are playing. So we are preaching some patience at this point, and I do think that we have nowhere to go but up in terms of things opening up. I do want to stress it is important, present day, that we continue to follow the protocols, whatever role you may play, parent, student, teacher, and if we see these trends continue with staffing, then we could be in a position come spring break to open things up and readjust our plan, which we hope to do. So we're in the people business. We're in the children business. And I can't tell you, I can't express enough the joy that is come forward in the energy in seeing kids back in buildings from all parents, teachers, administrators, and it's uplifting. And we've still got a long ways to go before we get to the end of June, and a lot of work to do. And as we move through time, we'll continue to talk about strategies to close the achievement gaps, and we've talked about that a little bit informally, and we're still looking ahead to summer opportunities and things that we can do going into the next school year. But today, we've got 4,000 kids in our schools this week, and it's the way it's supposed to be. And I want to thank our administrators, our central office team, who've worked round the clock. And a lot of times, several of you have made comments about you're appreciative of the work and how things have gone, and that's because we have employees who bought in and are doing the right things, and our kids and our parents. And, you know, when I'm out at Harris Teeter or getting a sandwich somewhere, once in a while I'll get a parent who comes along and says, boy, it's been a tough year. And a lot of times my response is, well, this is what I do. This is my job, and my job's to be a problem solver. And I think that it's been frustrating, at times early on scary, not knowing what to expect. But I think that we have a very resilient community. I know we do. and for every healthy opinion that's expressed. We may not always agree with decisions, but we do it respectfully. And I can't tell you the hundreds of emails that I've gotten from parents who are thankful for the work that we do. In fact, I was pulling out I don't work for Harris Teeter, but I was coming out of Harris Teeter the other day, and they have that lane where you can pull up and someone will get your groceries and load your car up. And someone was yelling, "Hey, you, Farley, I've been meaning to catch up with you." And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Right, I know. And she's like, "I just can't thank the administrators for everything that you've done and the work that you're doing." And, you know, it's been tough, but for all of us, but it's worthwhile when you see smiles. And I've got 2 little ones who've not been, can't wipe the smiles off their faces since last Monday, and I know that a lot of parents are pleased.
John, I think
Yeah.
the fact that we have 4,000 students back in school shows the level of confidence that the parents and the staff have in us in terms of providing a safe environment for the students. So kudos to the people that are making that work, yourself, your staff, staff at the schools, to give parents that confidence to be able to send their children back where they need to be.
Yeah, and another thing, when we talk about closing the achievement gap, we have a huge advantage because of the significant number of high-performing teachers and effective teachers that we have, comparative really to any other district in the state. And when you have highly effective teachers, you can close the achievement gaps a lot quicker. So despite all our struggles, I'm highly confident we're going to be in this 15 months swing, but eventually we're going to get kids caught up, and that's our job. And when you have the kind of effective teachers that we have, it's possible. If you're in other districts where you don't have the array of talent that we have, it's more of an uphill climb. And to Joe's point, there's high confidence in Dare County schools, and for a good reason. So next item under reports and items for information, just quickly. So kind of piggybacking off of the presentation regarding athletics. So with the announcement and the adjustment in the toolkit that I referenced earlier, the capacity for athletics is now up to 30% capacity. I think that we've done very well. Credit to our athletic directors, our high school principals, our middle school principals, in creating a very equitable process. Families have had an opportunity to get a voucher to attend games. Currently, if you're, say, a football player or a cheerleader, you get 2 passes per game. 30% capacity inside is relatively simple because we can count seats, and then we put families in pods and spread them out at that 30% capacity. Where it gets a little tricky, and that's why we've connected. So we've had several meetings, myself, Ms. Kinsel, Dr. Parker, high school principals, ADs, on the requirements outside. So with the shift, surprisingly, it's 30% capacity inside and still 30% outside. And so where that gets tricky is we have different venues across the district, depending upon the sport and how much space there may be. Obviously, at a football stadium, there's a lot more seats versus a confined soccer field. So what we've done is try to be, first off, be very diligent in the details, interpreting what we can do and what we can't do, and we want our schools to operate consistently. So currently we've got middle school volleyball, we've got football, men's soccer is in the playoffs, women's soccer is starting, softball and lacrosse. Those sports, I think I got them all, are currently in play, and we are working off the 30% capacity. And I want to thank our parents for working with us. And it's not ideal on a Friday night when only 2 members of your family can come and attend a football game. But we are we've worked through every single field capacity, and the state protocol is 30% of the fire capacity, inside and out, or outside, there is a formula which is kind of matches what we've followed with 6-foot social distancing, which is 7 people per 1,000 square foot. So we have done the math in all of our venues, and our ADs and coaches have been very diligent in following those protocols. And, you know, part of our messaging with being patient is things are moving rapidly, you know, and what we do today may change in 10 days or maybe tomorrow. I feel like we're only going to be making progress. There's going to be a progression in lifting those capacities, but right now we are in a position to be very efficient in what we're doing, and just communicating that out to our parents and our teams. The last piece of this is the Marlin Bowl has been on hold. We're still looking at 2 or 3 scenarios for that big local game. And to our principals' credit, they've talked about a lot of districts don't allow away fans, and we're moving in the direction of allowing away fans and kind of having a balance, about a 75 home to 25% visitors ratio. And we're working through that, and hopefully that big game can get pulled off. So questions on athletics? And again, this is changing on a daily basis.
Is it first come, first serve in terms of the people that come to these venues? Or I know you talked
Good
about
question.
cheerleading and stuff like that, but
No,
what is it?
we sell tickets, so we allot them to the athletes and their families. And then we have a process where tickets are sold, and then there's a process where we allot them to the visiting team. And if they buy them up, great, then they can show up at the door. And if they don't, then those tickets can go back to the school level, and that 25% might, you know, the 75%, if they're not all sold, might be 83% at Manual High School. No, there's no showing up at the door, and it's all kind of like a pre-registration process, so we can assure we're meeting capacity and being fair.
I feel like the struggle is going to be with the outdoor sports. I know consistency is important, but you also have such a
Well,
such a
our schools,
variable.
yeah, I can see that, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to meet and kind of talk through. We talked through every field space. Each of our schools has a really good plan, and we have SROs, and we've talked about additional support personnel being in place through the rest of the spring to help monitor and preach social distancing. Really, I think the only struggle we're going to have right now is there's a mandate that you have to sit down, and you can't stand up at an event. So where that could be a struggle is, you know, we've got football stadiums with fences, and if you're sitting down, what's your vantage point if you're sitting down? But that's a state mandate right now. So we feel good about our ability to space, pod, and follow those requirements. I just think the fan experience of having to sit, depending upon the venue, could be a little bit of a struggle, but that's a mandate, and that one's non-negotiable.
John, are we making the athletic directors responsible for that, or whose total responsibility is that?
It's been a shared responsibility. Obviously, they implement working with the principals, but really since the pandemic and how we've cut several positions at central office. So one of the things I took on was athletics. So I've worked hand in hand with the principals since the pandemic began, and the athletic directors. We've had numerous meetings just to help try to facilitate and communicate effectively. So it's really a team effort, but the principals and the athletic directors work together in decision making.
Well, I think having a system in place kind of gets everybody understood what the system is.
Sure.
You know.
John, one quick question about the sporting events. For some reason, if all the tickets don't get sold, is there a chance to buy a ticket at the door? Are they counting? I mean, is there any gaps to be able to allow someone to make a last-minute decision to come to the game?
Well, we do have some sports that are, for whatever reason, not as popular. So that we're not every ticket is being sold. I'm not sure about walk-ups. Chuck, are we doing any of that? Okay. Right. So if the folks at home didn't hear Mr. Lansing, a couple of sports, yes. It depends upon the venue and the sport. And honestly, our ADs can say, we typically get 75 at this sport, and we get 150 here. And so they know their sports and their fan base. So, you know, but I'd say probably 90% is already been pre-registered or allotted. Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll move to item C with Ms. Kinsel and Dr. Parker.
And before you guys get started, I just want, they're going to give us an update on the, I might be stealing some of this, but the Career and College Ready. This was a program that was started with B. Bass Knight and Charlotte White back 7 years ago. Is that what we, 6 years ago, right? When David and I, the year after David and I got on the board. So it's been a really great thing to watch this, this whole program come together. It's been a great addition for our students, and grateful to all the hard work that Charlotte and B did to make this happen, and the board that surrounded them in support of that. I think, Joe, you were on that board then. Yeah. So, Dr. Parker?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We're going to start with the overview of the College Advising Corps that you mentioned. And we'll ask our two advisors to come forward, and they have a presentation. And Ms. Kinsel also is going to speak to some of the work they did in preparing.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Farley. I was expecting him to talk a little longer, so I apologize for that. As you mentioned, Ms. Balance, one of the programs that we have in place for all Dare County high schools is a program to help support students to make good decisions, to know what's available to them in terms of life after high school and being able to make informed decisions. And so we are now in our 6th year of the college advising, the Carolina College Advising Corps, and we have 2 stellar advisors that are with us that are going to provide you with some updates on what kinds of things that they've been doing, especially during the pandemic, which is, as we've already mentioned, has been kind of challenging. But we have Tomas Elliott and Samuel Stevenson, and I'm going to turn it over to them so that they can share some of the work they're doing. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. First off, we just want to say that we are really grateful to be here tonight, and we really appreciate the opportunity given to us by the board to tell you guys a little bit about what we're doing and tell the people at home a little bit about what we're doing. I'd also like to say thank you so much to our teachers and administration. We get to see what you guys do every day, and we understand how difficult this is, and we really appreciate all that you do for this community. So. Before we get into what we do, we'd like to just introduce ourselves. My name is Samuel Stevenson. I was born in California, but raised here in North Carolina. I graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in 2020 with a degree in history. And I serve at Mania High School on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and I serve at Cape Hatteras Secondary School on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
And I'm Thomas Elliott. I'm originally from Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'm a 2019 graduate in political science and European studies. And I work here at First Flight 4 days a week, and I'm at Cape Hatteras on Thursdays. Before we continue, we also just want to kind of thank and acknowledge that we're not the first ones to do this work here. Tanya, Lauren, Sophia, and Seth have all been kind of part of this partnership over the past few years. So we kind of build upon their successes and build upon everything they've done kind of since the start of this partnership. That way. There we go. Cool. So a little bit about our program, which, as was mentioned, is the Carolina College Advising Corps. This is one of many college advising corps, one of 5 in North Carolina, including NC State, App State, Duke, and Davidson. They all have college advising corps, all with a similar kind of goal. So, which is to help low-income, first-generation, underrepresented, and students from remote or rural areas kind of apply to and enroll, and ideally also pay for college by putting people like us, recent college graduates, in these high schools to support them through that process. And we're trained to do that kind of work in the summer, and then are here for a 1+1 kind of year I guess, service period. This map is kind of washed out here, but you can see all of our colleagues. So we have 60-ish colleagues throughout the state that are kind of located all around in different types of school districts, including Durham Public Schools, Charlotte Mecklenburg. But the closest actually advisor to us is a North Carolina State, NC State advisor in Perkins County. So, and Sam's going to talk a little bit about, oh, wrong way, keep doing this, what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So here are a few points about what we do. I'm going to hit on 3 of them. One of the most important things that we do is helping our students with FAFSA, whether that is through FAFSA drives or through partnering with local colleges such as ECSU or with the local community college. One of my favorite things that we do, and one of the most rewarding things that we do, is reviewing and reading over essays and resumes. These are some of the most important parts of a college application. And I would have really valued the help that we can provide to the students because I didn't really have the ability to write as well or to convey the things that look good on a college resume. And furthermore, you just get a really great look into students' lives and they always surprise you. It's really nice. One thing that in a normal year would be really important for us is doing college visits. Unfortunately, we are not able to do that this year because of the pandemic, but Thomas is going to tell you a little bit about what we've done to mitigate that.
So this is one of kind of our successful campaigns from this year, was kind of the Dare to Explore College Rep Visit campaign that we led for all the high schools in the county by bringing college representatives from the universities that you see, and actually a couple more that aren't on here, to speak with students. This is actually, in a regular year, also a challenge because it's hard for representatives to kind of make their way out here in a workday. So we've been really fortunate to work with them on that. This was in the fall, and we're kind of doing a similar sort of event this spring for juniors. So actually starting this Friday with the representative from NC State is going to come talk to juniors here in Dare County. So that's one part of what we'll be doing this spring. Another big thing is kind of encouraging students and supporting them as they apply to COA and for the Dare Guarantee, which Sam's going to speak about a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are really excited about the Dare Guarantee. We think this is an enormous opportunity for our students, for your students. And this is an opportunity that is not given to many students across the state. And we really just want to say how huge this is. So we have been pushing the Dare Guarantee since we've arrived in August. But we are really fortunate that it is with the local community college because this provides an opportunity for students who may not have made those first few visits or who have just had trouble deciding whether it's because of the pandemic or for other reasons about what they want to do. And so the Dare Guarantee provides us an opportunity to reach out to kids later on in the college application process and give them an awesome opportunity to go to school for 2 years for free. And we work really closely with the COA liaison, Mr. John Hunting. He has been phenomenal. John, if you're watching, I'm really sorry for all the emails I send you. I'm sure it's sometimes annoying. But yeah, we just want to say how much we really, really love the Dare Guarantee because this is such a great opportunity for the community and for our students.
Yeah, and I think just want to reiterate, like as I mentioned, we have 60 colleagues like through our program, and none of them have, to my knowledge, an opportunity like this that kind of they can take advantage of. So yeah, we just wanted to touch on that. So getting into kind of the data of our results, so kind of this is what we've been able to keep track of, and there's some caveats at the bottom that I'll get to, but sort of the bread and butter of our work is one-on-one meetings with seniors in the fall and kind of through the spring semester, and now also with juniors. So that first one, this is for the whole county, actually aggregated for the 3 high schools. We are also available to work with DLA students as well. But so the first one there that you see is one-on-one meetings. We've met with 55% of seniors as of last week in a one-on-one setting, talking about the college process, helping them with their essays, their financial aid, all of that. Speaking of financial aid, we've assisted 37% of them in some way in the financial aid process. That can be the FSA ID to complete the FAFSA itself, scholarships, anything along those lines. The third number there is, as of last week, to our knowledge, 50% of seniors have submitted to FAFSA, which is an excellent number at this time, and something that we anticipate only growing as all three high schools are participating in the First in FAFSA challenge here in North Carolina. So that's a really wonderful opportunity, which we'll touch on. Down at the bottom left corner, 45% of seniors have submitted at least one college application at this time, and with an asterisk next to it that this does not actually include COA applicants at this time, and that is obviously a number that we expect to continue growing. That's also a self-reported number, so that's to the best of our knowledge. The one in the middle there below is family engagement, which is a number we're really proud of, actually, because it actually exceeds our internal sort of projections and our goals for the year. So we have been able to engage with the families of students, 31% of students, which we're really excited about. That can be with financial aid, that can be with FAFSA or anything like that. Again, to our knowledge, 21% of seniors have been accepted to at least one four-year college, two-year college at this time. That's, we think, a heavy undercount, actually, because it's self-reported to us, so we don't really have another source of that information. And we expect that to rise. And each of the schools will also compile that information at the end of the semester, so we'll be able to get an accurate count. So those are our results, and we have a little comparison here.
Yeah, and one more thing about that last number, and just to keep in context, is that most of those acceptances are from early action, early decision deadlines. So once we start getting our regular decision deadlines, those are going to go up significantly. So as you guys can see, the Dare County schools are at the top of our comparison chart here. And we didn't just put it that way. We felt like Brunswick and Craven counties are relatively comparable counties for Dare County. And so we also got all this data from First and FAFSA. And I think Tomas is going to tell you guys a little bit more about that and a little bit more about how you can see more comparisons with the state.
Yeah, I believe all this will be sent out to y'all as well. So just by accessing that link, you can kind of see a full comparison and the full data set, which they have there. It includes, I think, every county, every district in North Carolina. But basically, it's a new initiative that they're doing to kind of encourage FAFSA completion that all of our schools are participating in. And they give rewards for, if you are the top of your sort of district type, top of your demographic types kind of school, then you'll be kind of given some sort of, I think, cash reward. I'm not exactly sure what that actually is, but this is just a comparison, and with the link there, you can access all that information. So yeah, that's everything that we have, but we're open for questions or anything like that.
My question is, how does this process start? Do the students come to you, or do you go to the students?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it's one that we can answer for this year. We weren't here last year, so we don't know actually what that looks like in a regular environment. But for us, what that would look like kind of in the fall was, first of all, introducing ourselves to the students, and then kind of making efforts by going into classrooms and introducing ourselves, giving a presentation, talking about who we are, being in announcements, just really trying to get ourselves out there as much as possible in the virtual space. So many emails get sent out. Presentations, as I mentioned, to classrooms. I don't know if you have other. That's most of it, I think. But
I mean, it's not just advertising. It's about reaching out to students directly, right? We need to see which students need us and which students don't. And so once we're able to calculate through working with our coworkers in the schools which students do need us, then we begin targeting those students. And whether it's just emails or if emails aren't working, calling home to be able to talk to them and see how we can assist them in ensuring that they have the best future that they can have.
And I'd just like to interject a little bit on what you're sharing with us too, because again, the goal of the whole program is to provide support to first generation college goers. And sometimes that can be a very daunting task, to say the least, if you're not sure, what do I need to do in order to apply? What are they looking for? And so these two gentlemen provide a great deal of support. You can tell they're passionate about what they're doing, and they really believe in the program and reaching out and finding the students that need them and providing them that direct support. So I appreciate all that you do to help our seniors and now our juniors to learn more about their future planning. Thank you.
And I'd have to say that the first generation people need that ability to navigate through the system. And if they've never had that experience through their parents or anybody else, that's the real challenge. And I thank you for that. for being
And it clearly looks like by the numbers, you guys are doing an amazing job of reaching out and really capturing the students' attention and getting them to have confidence in your ability to help them. So that's really encouraging to see. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for your leadership. And honestly, having kids back in, I think I can say for myself and for Tomas too, has been an incredible help as well, being able to see them face to face, the ones that we can anyway. So thank you guys so much.
I also would like to say thanks to the commissioners for stepping up and working with COA, bringing that together. So it was really nice to see that we're the only one. I wish there was others that could do that as well, but it was very, very nice for the commissioners to do that.
Well, and you guys having the opportunity to learn about that, maybe after your 2 years are up, you can help other counties get there. So you never know.
Yeah, I think that'd be really great. Please believe us when we say this is one of the greatest opportunities that the students in you guys' county have. Very, very few students are as fortunate as the ones in Dare County for sure.
Well, we're it's been nice, like, to see how this program has grown from Seth. Seth was amazing. And yeah, our first one. And then to get, to now have two and to have you guys to expound on that and continue to help grow that we really appreciate all your hard work. And I know the seniors and the ones that really want to propel themselves are very appreciative.
I have one quick question. About how many students do you have that are interested in COA?
In terms of putting an exact number on that, I don't know. I mean, it's many of them. I guess what I would say is that many of those are the ones that we haven't been able to fully connect with at this time because their deadlines are much later than all the ones that we've been working on. So we have the ability to kind of see, as far as we know with the data that we shared, like these are the students that haven't applied. And our understanding is that many of those would be, so we're talking maybe 35-ish%, but that's kind of an estimate at this time, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys. And thank you, Keith and Sandy, for facilitating that report.
Madam Chair, if you,
yes.
with your permission, we'd
Yes.
like to continue with yet another program that we wanted to share that offers the support to some of our
Absolutely.
high schools.
Absolutely.
Dr. Parker? I know it's hard to believe that we could actually expand on the support that we have based on the report of Sam and Tomas, but Dr. Parker's going to carry on.
Thank you, Sandy. We do want to chat with you a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing in the high schools, and we shared an update at the last board meeting on our work with the high school program of studies, and we launched that document on Monday, and I wanted to give you an update on how we're using that document and then on our course registration process, which is happening now for students. We've had a program of studies, which is essentially a course catalog. It details every course that a student in high school could take here and the credit they could then earn for that course. It also is a pretty thorough document that outlines to a freshman in high school what they would need to do to graduate. Historically, that document has been revised and compiled and updated and then prepared around this time of year in a printed, published document, and we've made that available. We decided this year to take that document, revise it and edit it, make some changes to it, make it more reader-friendly from a parent and student's perspective, and then make that an online document. And the benefit to that is our program of studies is 86 pages. And so inevitably, there are constant revisions that we make, changes that may happen from the state mid-year, edits we find in the document, and having a published printed document means that if you make a change, you then have to reprint the doc and then send it out again. The benefit of us transitioning to an online document is we can make updates immediately, and there's no republishing, there's no reprinting. It's available at that moment to the students. In fact, Principal Lansing and some of his guidance staff today pointed out a couple of changes that we're making even now, and those will be available tomorrow to parents. So we're really excited about that. The other thing that we've done to this document is that we've restructured how it reads, and a part of that is it has now been revised from the mindset of the readability from a parent and student's perspective, particularly a family that has a child going into ninth grade. And so we want our students going into ninth grade to know exactly down to the letter what is required of them to graduate from a high school in Dare County. In part because we want them to graduate on time, and we want them to have every opportunity available. And quite frankly, we have a lot of opportunities in our schools, to the point that it can be overwhelming for a parent to even choose a course selection for their kids, because we offer so many courses. And so our hope with this revised program of studies is that a student could read it in its revised version and have a clear picture of what's available to them, and then what the requirements would be for them to graduate on time. So we're very excited about that. But we did also launch on Monday this document, and our course registration processes now been available to students. Our principals have prepared videos, resources, a lot of support to students to guide them through the registration process. And for the next couple of weeks, students are going to be looking at the course catalog. They're going to be choosing the courses that they want to take next year. And then on the week of March the 24th, our students are going to go into Power School, and they will then register for their courses. And then our principals and guidance staff after that will take all of those registrations, make sure they're sorted out, build master schedules, and prepare for next year. So this is an important time of the year, particularly for students as they look toward next year. So any parents or anyone that might be watching today, I do want to just mention that the course registration information is available on the school website, and please contact your child's school, and particularly their guidance department, if you have any questions or need any support as you go through this very important process. We're also translating this document into Spanish, and we hope in the very near future we'll have a completed translation of that. Of course, as I mentioned, it is 86 pages, so it's taken some time for us to get a human translated version of the document, but that is coming. If we have any of our Spanish-speaking families that need support or have questions, they can contact their school at this point, and our guidance staff will be glad to walk them through the process until we can get that translated version. So that's an update there on the program of studies. And Sandy, I believe you got some additional things, but if the board has any questions or comments on that, I'd love to hear them or take any questions before Sandy continues on with the presentation.
Keith, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
The student submits their course selection, and who oversees that to ensure that whatever they're taking is appropriate? Is that the guidance counselors, principals, or who does that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Really two parts. For a lot of our students, they're meeting with their guidance counselor before they ever register. All of our rising ninth graders will be required to actually have a meeting with their counselors before they even register. And a part of that is they're going to be new to high school. They need to know the depth of what's available. That's the case for a majority of our students. But our principals and our guidance staff ultimately build the schedule. So in the event that a child may have incorrectly or even accidentally registered for on the course, that's going to be corrected as we build the master schedule. And we review these class lists meticulously to ensure that the child is on the right pathway, they're in the right math class, for example, and that everything is registered. So inevitably mistakes happen, and that's the benefit of revising and looking several times at the schedule in the coming months to make sure that the students have registered for the right course. Great question.
I just want to say, I think this is a wonderful tool for the students and parents, so you can lay out your child's 4 years and you're not caught at the very end where you didn't build correctly, regardless of what kind of a diploma you're going for. It'll be such a helpful instrument. Thank you all for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Margaret. And we know that there's a lot of information in that document, so our goal has been, again, to rewrite portions of it where it reads in a friendly manner to parents, because it's 86 pages, and that's a lot of information. So we want to have people be able to go in that document and find what they're looking for and not have to turn through multiple pages. So that's some ongoing work, but we feel like we've made a lot of progress with this revision. All right. Thank you all. Sandy?
So kind of dovetailing with Dr. Parker's work with the new Program of Studies guide. One featured course that is new in the guide this year, and actually would have been in last year's, but we were a little slow on the uptake and we had until spring to implement this. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about the Career and College Ready Graduates course that are now available. Again, this is put in as an effort to help our students once they leave high school and enter community college, if that's their choice. Let's see if I can get, here we go. So just a little background on how these courses came to be. Session law that was passed in 2015 and was amended several times since then. It required a collaborative effort between the Career and College, the State Board of Community Colleges and the State Board of Education to collaborate and create a program that would help to support high school graduates in their senior year by providing content and a course that would help them potentially mitigate any kind of remedial classes that they would have to take when they moved into community college. Of course, you take those remedial college courses, they cost you, and they really don't count for credits. So they wanted to back this up to be able to help students be more prepared when they leave high school and enter the community college and kind of get the ground running. Okay. So the Career College Ready Graduate courses are actually high school courses that they will get high school credit for. This is again meant to reduce or eliminate any kind of remediation once they get into a community college. And they are incorporated into what the community college uses as their reinforced instruction for student excellence or their RISE transition plan. Working two computers here. So the high school students are identified as early as their junior year, and there are several areas of criteria that would find them eligible. Students who have an unweighted GPA between 2.2 and 2.799 would be required to register for this course unless an exception exists. Students with an unweighted GPA below 2.2 or 2.8 must participate, again, unless there's some exemption that would require. Some students' GPAs could be falling in that eligibility level, but they could have courses such as an AP course that could contribute to a lower GPA in terms of the unweighted GPAs. And if they score a certain level on their say their AP exams, that could exempt them from having to take these courses. Again, there's a certain eligibility that's set up so that we can identify students that would most benefit from these courses. But we also recognize that we might exempt them from that with parent permission if they have no intent to go into the community college when they leave high school. Maybe they're moving towards military service or going straight into the job force. So we make sure that we are covering all of our bases with this. Okay. There we go. All right, so the two courses that are now going to be available, and actually we have begun this rollout and we have students that are currently enrolled in these courses. Because of the legislation and the requirement to create this platform, it was an online platform that presented its own challenges. Anytime we roll out a platform for the first time, we hit some bumps and snags in the road. But our goal was to get students in the courses, get teachers trained, and be able to provide this as a resource to the students during this spring session. And that was a requirement by the state. So the two courses, which is a CCRG Enhanced English 4 course, this course actually serves as a fourth English for graduates that take it. So it kind of works in tandem with the English course, and it supplements the content aligned with the English 4 courses. So this does give them the high school credit towards their fourth English, and it meets the North Carolina University's minimum admission requirement for the English course. Now, the math course is a little bit different. This counts as a fourth math for students towards credit for graduation, but it is not considered a fourth level math course that would meet that university system minimum admission requirement. So because the math course does not meet that minimum requirement, students may need to take an additional math course if they're planning to attend the North Carolina University Systems college or university. For this reason, some of those students may have already taken their fourth math, and again, parents and students in consultation with the counselors may have opted to not participate in the CCRG math, even though they might have been eligible for it. Again, students will complete tests throughout these two courses, and they're used by the community college to place them appropriately when they get into their first level English courses or math courses when they get to the community college. Let me go backwards. There we go. So there are lots of benefits to these two particular courses that are being offered to our high school students. One, obviously completing these courses in high school will save the students time when they graduate and move into a community college, eliminating the need to take some of those remedial courses if necessary. And again, the content in these courses will help prepare them for the university's placement tests, military technical schools, career and math, English needs just in general. So if they're moving into the workforce or just career immediately after high school, it would certainly help to strengthen those skills that are so essential when you enter the workforce. Okay. Finally, just a little bit of personal data. There we go. Local data on our current course enrollment. Sometimes a slow roll out of things is a good thing, and it helps us to work out some of the bugs. And but we have, I have been fortunate to be working with two really strong individuals that have technology skills, perseverance, and they're passionate about the project that was laid out before them. Cassie Mount is a Manio High School English Language Arts teacher and an intern. And so she was the English Language Arts lead on this. So she helped to train the teachers and be able to help get teachers and students set up into the platform for the English courses. Jessica Polk, who is a rock star math teacher down at Cape Hatteras Secondary School. She took the lead with the math training for our math teachers, and she reported that, well, both ladies have reported to me that the teachers they've trained have been so excited by the content and the presentation through the platform that they want to be able to expand and use it to for some of their students that may not be eligible per se, because they feel like the content is being presented in such a really strong methodology that it helps to strengthen just regular core instruction. So I think that is saying something as far as how we might be able to utilize this platform, not just to meet this legislative requirement, but also get more teachers trained and possibly using it to help enhance the strong instruction that's already being provided in our high school English 4 and our math courses. So with that, let me go back, I'm sorry. You'll see, we have some small numbers right now in all of the schools that are working through it. But I expect that these numbers will grow as we get the word out and we get more teachers involved, especially in using it to help with their core instruction. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Sandy, I have to say, I appreciate this program because we are taking responsibility as a school system to ensure that before our students enroll in community colleges, that they're prepared to get there without taking the remediation courses that they'd have to take if we weren't doing our job. So greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would add on to that. I think a lot of kids that are kind of teetering on whether or not they feel comfortable in college, when they have to take that remediation class, and then it's kind of discouraging. So to be able to come out and not have to go through that and know that they earned it with their diploma is really, I know a couple kids that ended up just, I don't want to do this anymore, because they knew that their remediation was not, the remediation course was something they weren't interested in. And as for Jessica Polk, my son would not have graduated high school without her, so kudos to her, because I'm really glad he's not in the house. Believe it or not. Anybody else have anything else? Nope.
Sandy, I do have one question. It may not be a direct connect, but what are some of the things that are in place to help the kids that say they want to go into the military or go to a trade school or something like that?
Well, trade schools, we have lots of offerings locally at community college, COA. That is also part of being able to identify pathways and career desires for our kids. And that comes through planning when they start in 9th grade, as Dr. Parker said. So it's not just about picking courses. There are certain courses that are required for graduation, but it's also an opportunity to be able to say there's interest surveys that are done in 8th grade to find out what is my, where do I want to be and what path do I want to take. So by the time they get to their freshman year at the high school, we can start mapping that out for them and give them some of those experiences. COVID has put a pretty strong damper on any kind of mentorship that we had built up pretty strongly in the community. So we're hopeful that as restrictions loosen, that we're going to be able to return some of that normalcy, because kids really did get a lot of value out of being out and in a job location and seeing it hands-on. So I think our counselors do a great job of helping to assess what are my strengths, what's my career desire, and give me a little bit of a taste of it before I get to the end of my high school career. And then we can start pointing them in the direction of, an institute of higher learning, whether it be community college or the university system, but also be able to counsel them in, military. What's the best fit for them in a military, or again, move straight into a job. So I think we have lots of supports, and I think that was the whole message we wanted to provide to the board in today's presentation, but also kind of feeding off of what we presented to you last month.
And also, just to add on, Tomas and Samuel, bringing the college, like realizing you couldn't do the college trips and bringing those advisors in, that was that's really a really great idea and innovative way to still keep these kids with the opportunity to meet these colleges and see where they fit. So I just wanted to throw that in too. It was good stuff. So anybody else have any questions? Okay, moving on. We have no unfinished business. We have no policies. So we'll move on to new business. Dr. Farley.
So I mentioned earlier in the meeting, kind of outlining our process for the public school budget build. So I'm making a request for approval of a April 1st budget workshop at First Flight High School at 2 p.m. We had informally polled the board to check availability prior to landing on that date. So ask for approval of a budget workshop at 2 p.m. on April 1st.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve that.
Motion to approve the request for a budget workshop meeting on April 1st at 2.
Second.
April Fool's Day, no joke. That's on you, Candy. at 2 o'clock.
Second.
Second from Mr. Hester. Any discussion?
Here.
And will we be audio? If it's a
So
public?
that's at the board's discretion at the packet meeting. The recommendation, it is a workshop. It's not a business meeting. Recommendation was to be available via audio. And if that's the case, we would be in the media center.
Okay.
And we would invite, since the setting will be smaller, we will not have our array of directors would be there. It would be smaller. We would be under the 25-person maximum capacity limit, and we could invite members of the press who might be interested to be in the audience.
Very good. Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Twitty, a second from Mr. Hester. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And last but not least, David's.
Madam
favorite
Chair, I
thing.
move we adjourn.
Second. Motion by Mr. Twitty, second from Ms. Lawler. Any discussion? Thank you all for tuning in and welcoming us into your living rooms. I'm sure this was really entertaining. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, meeting adjourned.